everyone. I'm your host, Brittany Jones Cooper, and welcome to Build. Today, I'm talking to Jermaine Dupri, who founded the record label So So Def in 1993, specializing in hip-hop and R&B, and managing artists like Criss Cross, Bow Wow, and Usher. In the documentary Power, Influence, and Hip Hop, The Remarkable Rise of So So Def, we get an inside look at how Dupri's creative genius took the label from humble beginnings to multi-platinum success. Take a look. Jermaine Dupri.
Yo, what up?
How you doing?
I'm good, how you doing?
I'm so good. I watched this last night, and my only complaint is that I wanted more.
This is pretty good complaint.
Yeah, I mean, like so many of us, the people in the audience, I obviously know your music, all the people you've produced and managed, and have been a fan of yours for a long time. I don't think I understood how much of a genius you were in this field and how respected you were and just how much progress you made. So congratulations on all that. I think this documentary is coming along at a really good time in music too, to be reminded of kind of what's important. So tell me why now? Why is this now like you wanted to tell your story?
I feel like, you know, if you get inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, you celebrate 25 years of your record company. It's like a lot of milestones that if you continue to keep pushing as hard as I do, in this fast-paced world that we live in now, some of this stuff that's in this doc probably won't even be talked about, you know what I mean? Because if you have to do it at some point, you know? Because then it might get, you probably be saying, oh, it's too long. It's too long. Nah, it's like, you know what I'm saying? So you got to break it up.
I don't think I'd ever say it was too long. I mean, anybody who's a music head or has like favorite songs is gonna love this.
Okay.
And I think especially getting to just know you a little more in your background. And I don't think I understood that you started out as a dancer, and that was really an education for you, being on the road and understanding the industry. So what impact did that in that time in your life have on the rest of your career?
Every bit of it, you know. 84, 85, 86 is like the most important years of hip hop, because this was in hip hop was sealed, and this is when the understanding of where hip hop was gonna go, and people that was a part of that to now seeing where we are now. So that was, you know, I couldn't even I wouldn't change anything, none of that.
You were a kid. How old were you when you were in the Freaks Come Out at Night video?
12.
12 years old.
Yeah.
And so did somebody teach you how to dance, or that was just in you?
I mean, I watch people. You know, if you go in, you dance in a circle, people dancing, you actually pick up what they doing. So you teach yourself, kind of, but, you know, from afar, they're teaching you.
Yeah. Can you still dance like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah, of course.
So So Def really sort of took off with Criss Cross.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's something that people are going to be reminded of or learn for the first time, is that you discovered these boys in a mall, wrote the entire album, and really launched them into stardom.
Yeah.
So when you look back at that moment, do you signal that at the beginning of your kind of growth and as a producer?
I mean, as a successful road, you know, I had a group prior to Criss Cross called Silk Times Leather that wasn't so successful, right? And it's interesting because once you start making successful records, I went through this period in my life where I didn't want to make, I wanted to have cool records. And sometimes cool records are not successful records. They just cool, and the culture likes them, and they're cool to the culture. And I couldn't make those type of records. And I wanted those type of records, but I think when I make those type of records, nobody pays that much attention to it. So like my Silk Times Leather record, I think it was like a opportunity for a 17-year-old kid to write a whole album. But I don't ever really get no props for that. Yeah.
Criss Cross is so, I mean, iconic. Do you feel like people now can respect what that did for hip hop, what that did at the time? Like now?
No.
Do they
I mean, it's not really anywhere I can go where people don't tell me that Criss Cross impacted their life. You know, and that you know, that trophy of people telling me that Criss Cross impacted their life is bigger than the press giving me props for what Criss Cross did.
And Snoop is featured throughout this documentary pretty prominently.
Yeah.
Love Snoop. And he says, for you, you're always ahead of the curve. And so for you creatively, where does that come from? Where does that inspiration come from to be different and to kind of break down barriers and do things that haven't really been seen?
It comes from being in Atlanta when you know you don't have no choice. You gotta figure out something, you know, because people was giving me a hard time the whole time. You know, throughout the whole process of making music. You know, when I put out Crisscross, they were successful, but then I came with Escape, and people was like, "Why would you? Why would you do an R&B group? You got the biggest rap group in the country." Why? And I'm like, that's not. You know, my focus is somewhere else. And when me saying that made people be like, "Okay, this guy, we'll see him. We won't see him again."
A lot of people also credit So Def with putting Atlanta on the map as far as hip hop and R&B in the industry. Why was that especially important in the 90s where we had East Coast, West Coast and all the beef that was going on for you to be able to bring Atlanta up as a destination for music?
I don't know that. Oh, I don't know that I had any. I don't know that the three things had anything to do with each other. Like the East Coast, West Coast beef, that was something else that didn't have anything to do with Atlanta. Me just being from Atlanta, you know, when Crisscross came out, people was telling me, Jermaine, you should move. If you move to New York, you'll be much bigger. If you move to LA, your career will go boom, it'll blow up. And something just told me, nah, I'm in a space, I'm in my space, I'm gonna make this work. Difficult, yes. Did I have to do things that other people weren't doing? Yes. But it was never discouraging. It just made me want to do it. So, and then once I started seeing people move and people gravitate more to Atlanta, I was just like, you know, it worked, you know.
What was it about the Atlanta sound that you think was so kind of different or interesting for people to hear?
New. It's just fresh. You know what I'm saying? Just a new look on life and just a fresher way to hear things than what had been heard probably. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you got inducted into the Songwriting Hall of Fame. Applause for that. That is a huge
Thank you.
accomplishment. And just to remind people, you've written songs like Confessions, Let It Burn, We Belong Together, Money Ain't a Thing, the entire Crisscross album, the Usher My Way album, the Bow Wow's first album.
Brat's first album.
Brat's first
Escape's
album.
first album.
So what does writer's block look for you? Because it doesn't seem like you have any.
Oh yeah, I show that in here when I'm driving down the street and I'm writing Confessions. That's what I had. I had a writer's block. I left the studio and I had got, you know, this was back when CDs was out. You get a CD, you put a CD in the car and you go down the street. I had writer's block. I couldn't write at the studio. What I wanted to say wasn't coming out at the studio, so I had to get in the car. When I got in the car and I started driving down the street, that's when, you know, every time I'm in LA, I'm with my ex-girlfriend. Every time you call me, I'm telling you I'm working. Oh, it's, you know, okay, all right, there it is right there.
Can you explain what it feels like, though, when that clicks? Because I think for a lot of people, writing a song feels daunting and impossible, and that's like where you seem to thrive. So can you explain what it feels like when it clicks?
No.
No.
Because you don't know what it feels like until the artist sing it. You know what I mean? Like you also have to, you have to gain an artist's trust to believe that they can make what you're saying to them sound 100 times better. I don't really have a clue on how I figured this out, but that's just the thing. It's like, you know, and then you don't never know. You know, like I'm riding in the car, sound good to me, but then you gotta take that what you're saying to somebody else, and you gotta sing it to them the way it sounds to you, and you gotta pray that it sounds to them like it sounds to you, and then they want to do it that way. Sometimes it don't work.
That said, and I'm not asking you to pick a favorite because I'm sure that's probably really difficult, but is there a song of yours that you wrote that when you hear it, you're like, yeah, that's good?
Nice and Slow. Usher, Nice and Slow, because that song is almost 20 years old. And if you go on Instagram, you see people like dancing in the rain and they singing this song, and I'm like, wow, that song make you want to do that, you know. And that was one that, you know, I wrote it so fast. It's like, but it's so special to people. So it's just that's one of the probably the most special. Oh, Crisscross Jump too. But those two records are pretty. They up there with me.
You said you wrote Nice and Slow fast. What does that mean?
It's really fast. 7 o'clock on the dot. I'm in my drop top cruising the street. Like I was saying this so fast. Like yeah. Like it was, sometimes you just sit there and you like. Soon as I heard where I had to do the beat. Once I listen to the beat back, and I was listening to it, it start coming out fast. As opposed to sometimes it take me like a whole week to write a song, maybe. Not some of the big ones, but the big records, they come fast.
It's counterintuitive.
It
but
jump
that's
30
beautiful.
minutes. Yeah, at the most.
One of the cool.
We Belong Together. Sorry, not to cut you off. We Belong Together. About 8 hours though. That's a long time.
I was actually going to bring up We Belong Together because Mariah Carey, again, is featured really prominently in this. I have to say I've never seen Mariah like this. I can tell that you guys are friends. I can tell that you are really collaborative partners. She seemed so relaxed in this documentary.
Yeah.
And it was really beautiful to see her like that because I feel like a lot of times she'll have a guard up. But with you, it was really chill.
Yeah.
So what
Mariah
like
knows that I'm not going to tarnish her. Right. And she's been tarnished a lot of times. And she knows that I'm not going to do anything that's going to make people dislike her. Or I'm not going to throw any flames on a fuel on the flames of those that do dislike her. I'm not that person for her.
It seems like a really special friendship. She did mention We Belong Together and that writing process and how you guys were in the studio. But then she more or less kind of alludes that it could have been written inspired by Janet Jackson.
What?
That's what the read I got.
Really?
I watched
tell me. I don't.
Yeah,
Let me get the feedback.
I'm asking you.
No. Really? I didn't get that. What's the part where she says?
Well, she was like, it's kind of inspired by a lot of people, but the whole part,
she alluded
I'm
to saying
all out on my element.
Yeah, she's not talking about me.
Oh, okay. Kind of sounded like
she's not talking about me. She's talking about somebody that probably was in her life that she probably. I think that's how I took it.
Oh, I took it differently.
Okay. All right.
But what does it mean for you that not only you have worked with these big artists like Brat and Bow Wow and Snoop and Mariah, and to hear them say the things that they say about you in this documentary? What does that make you feel like?
I guess like accomplished. I guess that's the only thing I could think of. Like like I did it. This all spawned from a conversation that I had with Babyface one day, and I had Crisscross #1 record, and Crisscross was #1 with like Bruce Springsteen. So I was like, you can't tell me nothing. Like I was a little X out here. But I ran into Babyface, and Babyface was like, oh, you got that little Crisscross Jump record. I'm looking around like, who he talking to? Little Crisscross Jump record? What are you talking about? What kind of how does that's how you gonna talk about my record? So he said this, and he's like, man, let me explain something to you. That record don't mean nothing until you can do that multiple times. And he said that it kind of like completely killed all of my hype about that song. I think that was like probably the last day I listened to Crisscross, that record. And it was like, skate, but I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go. You know what I mean? So when I listen to these multiple people talk about me, I just feel like I did that. Like if I move myself from one person talking about me to the next person, and I'm able to have multiple people talk about me. Yeah.
And that you have uplifted them and inspired their careers in a lot of ways. One was Scooter Braun, who I had no idea that his career started with you.
Yeah.
So when you look at him now going through, he's just such a influence in the industry. That's part of your legacy. Is that something that's important to you, just to make sure you're lifting up?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think one of the things that I feel like it's like things that I want people to know about me and about Social Def and about the legacy of So Def is that, I was at Hot 97 today and they was talking about how I said something about who had the strongest influence in Atlanta, Outkast or Jermaine Dupri. And one of the things that people miss, even trying to throw that out, is that I created an institution. Outkast is a group, and they made records, but I gave people jobs. I gave people, I took Scooter from Emory. He dropped out of school to work for me. And from there, he's become a mastermind in his music industry. Little John worked for me. He came from So Def. He's gone on to become the Little John that you know. Like, my company, and there's other executives out here that y'all probably don't know, but they work in different companies, and they manage these companies very well and do a lot of different things. They all graduated from the high school of So Def. Yeah.
One note on Scooter, and help me understand, all this Taylor Swift stuff doesn't seem like that big a deal to me. That's like par for the course in the industry, right? Like, if
Well, I mean, the crazy part about it that I feel like the press is leaving out is that he didn't just get Taylor Swift's masters. He got Lady Annabelle, I think. Yeah, right. All these people's masters. So we should, like, if you're going to make the story, make it sound good. Put everybody in there. Like, yeah, he got all A masters. Now let's talk about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. To me, I told him it was a hell of a business move. It is what it is. You know what I mean? You get an opportunity, you're supposed to do it. I think my father sent me a message. Hold on, let me just look and make sure I say this right. And he said, some people, opportunity comes, some people pounce, and some denounce, or something like that, right? That's the quote, I guess, right? That's it, right? Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
he pounced.
Yeah, he pounced.
And he got paid.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Well, he didn't get paid. He paid. Right. Yeah, so he's yet to get paid, but he's going to, it's there. It's all there.
I think he's going to get paid.
Yeah, 100%.
Throughout watching this, the first thing I thought of was Berry Gordy. And then as we kind of got to the end of it, you sort of referenced that is somebody who has inspired you. So when you look at building your legacy, is he somebody who really inspires you and you model after and look at the work he's done?
100%. I mean, I just told the people, the post, like, this side of my body is Berry Gordy. This side of my body is like Teddy Riley. The top part of my body is like Quincy Jones. Like, I built this person. This is the person that I built with all of these different elements, I wanted to produce R&B and rap music like Quincy Jones. I wanted to own a record company and be the record company in my city like Berry Gordy. I wanted to have non-stop #1 records like Teddy Riley. I mean, there's so many different elements that that these guys offer for you to take, and you just got to figure it out. And that's how I built myself, watching these people and talking to myself and saying and building this person.
What motivates you now?
Knowing that people watching me, I finally feel like, I told Usher this, working on his new album, like, we had these conversations about all of these different people, Prince, Michael Jackson, all these people. Unfortunately, they not here no more. So now we are these people. Now Usher is Michael Jackson or Prince, not the same light, but that's who people look at for new music to take us somewhere. You know what I mean? So same thing with Mariah. She's, people look at these artists to do something to change what they're listening to, if they don't like it or if they love it, to even extend what they're listening to. We are these people, and it's our job. So I'm motivated to know that it's my job to continue, find more artists, and try to make Thriller.
We can't wait.
Try.
On that note, you said you're in the studio with Usher right now. How's that going?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When can we expect to hear something?
I don't know. I mean, if it was up to me right now, I'd play it right now. But I know every interview I go to, they be probably getting scared. Like this guy JD's crazy. If he pulls out his phone, yeah, I'm ready to play it right now. But I mean, I'm gonna respect they, cause it's their choice whenever they, when they ready. Yeah.
And then before we go to questions, is there an artist right now that you're really excited about? Somebody either you're developing or just somebody that you're watching that you think is kind of like capturing a sound right now that we.
I mean, I'm always, doing new artists. I got a new artist by the name of Cedar, Cedar, from Atlanta, rapper. I don't know what's gonna happen with him. I never know what's gonna happen with these artists, but I'm out here aggressively promoting a young artist. And from there it's gonna be more and more and more and more. Yeah.
I have a demo tape I can send
Okay,
you.
all right,
If you're
all
looking
right.
for talent.
All right.
I'm joking. We have questions. Who do you have first?
Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
She was
So,
ready.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So, a lot of artists think that just because they make a 60-second video on Instagram or social media, that because it's easier to get discovered nowadays, that it's easier to get in the industry. What advice can you give to those who don't realize that it takes more than that to be a successful artist?
Well, it doesn't actually now. I think that's the problem. It's like um, they need to not be able to get into it so that they can get better. I think that any artist that's out there, they should want to go through a process of getting beat so that you can get better. What is happening in our industry now is that kids are putting out songs that they know are trash, right? They know it's not good, and then they come right back like a week later and they got a new song, right? That's a that's a move of that didn't work. Didn't nobody like that at all, right? So when I was coming up, I had to go through this process of people telling me, Jermaine, this song's not good, and not coming out, which would save my life. I don't want you to hear the records that's not good, by the way. And I think I would hope that any young artist would feel the same. You shouldn't want people to hear you at your worst. You should only want people to hear you when you're really good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that why some of this music is so bad now? Because
100.
all I do is play 90s playlists
Yeah.
because I can't stand some of the new stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem with it is that, these kids are releasing records that are not mixed, that they just got an idea, and they homeboy came in and was smoking and was like, yo, that's it. Put that up on Instagram, whatever, and you post it, and then somebody else that feels like you feel they might like it, and then it catches this buzz, it goes viral. Then it goes viral, then it hits people like you, and you're like, this is trash. And then it's like, oh man, I ain't. And if you speak to them a year after that song, they'll be like, I never really wanted that to come out. It just happened and it went viral, and people liked it, but that wasn't something I was really into. And that's the process. I feel like gotta stop. Like people gotta stop putting out records that are not really there yet. I mean, if not, then you're gonna keep getting beat by people like Drake, because he don't do that. You know?
Next question.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hi. I'm actually here asking on behalf of Stanley, who couldn't be here. He's in South Carolina.
All right.
He really wanted to know, out of all of the people that you worked with, who had the rawest talent?
Oh man.
Making you think.
I want to say Escape. Escape, to this day, Escape sound like the record. Like, they sound like what they sound like. It is what it is with them. The Escape. Yeah. That's it. Simple. Yeah.
Then on that, what has it been like for you getting to see them reunite and just just to share that music again?
I mean, well, that's a space that's been waiting in my heart for them to do that. Anyway, it's like, this is my first group, so I never want them to break up. I never wanted them to go anywhere, and I always stood on the ground of saying nobody can sing better than this group, right? So them getting back together is like oh, y'all finally get what I've been seeing, huh? Now y'all realize how good you are. Okay, well, good for you.
That must be hard though. You're dealing with these artists and you are doing your job, but in so many situations, as you see in the doc, it's like they have to live their lives and do what they're going to do, and that must be sometimes difficult to
I mean,
deal with.
you just, I mean, I see it before they see it, so I don't expect them to see it the way I see it. You know what I mean? And they shouldn't expect me to see their life the way they see it as well. So, yeah.
I think we've got one more question. Way in the back.
Deion Sanders jersey on.
How you doing, Jermaine?
Yeah.
My question is, what advice would you give to the young guys and the upcoming artists to learn about the business?
Well, I have so many mixed thoughts about the business, right? Because I feel like right, we hear so much about people talking about being independent, and we hear so much about people talking about owning their own masters, and we hear so much about people saying, don't sign to a record company, do your own thing. And I feel like that's an interesting space to be in if you can do it, right? But 9 times out of 10, the artists that you're watching and the artists that we listen to that's at the top of the charts, they're not independent, right? And I think that somebody has to start educating people on that, because sometimes when I hear people say this, I'm like, yo, okay, but you're telling an artist, a young kid, don't sign record deal. He's got people wanting to sign with him. Wanting them to sign. And this kid is watching Drake, right? Drake is on Universal. It says OVO, but it's Universal. No matter how y'all want to flip it around, whatever you want to say. Now, if he makes a better deal for himself with Universal, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go in there and make a great deal and make it better for yourself. But a lot of times, a lot of stuff that these people are seeing and these artists are hearing, I don't always feel like it's the best information. So I would tell you to, get a great lawyer, be as business-minded as you can, and really understand your value, and don't undersell yourself. Get out of it what you feel like that you're supposed to get out of it. If they like you and they really like you, they'll really pay you. Yeah.
And find somebody like you who believes in what you're creating, because that was the overwhelming theme throughout this, is that you were working with artists who you really believed in and you wanted to help them rise.
Yeah. I also, I would say I believed in them. I felt like with the Brat project, I felt like I had failed. I did. Because I felt like I failed myself. I felt like for the first time I was asking myself, yeah, you might not be as good as you think you are. Because you're not coming up with this at all. And I would go back and listen to these songs that I did for Brat, and I'm like, this ain't it. This ain't it. I can't put this out. This ain't going to work, right? And so, how far I had to go and continue to keep pushing myself and just waking up every day and going in the studio and trying to figure it out. I could have really I was close to being discouraged. Yeah.
How long did that album take then?
2 years. Yeah.
And typically,
not 2 years to make the album. 2 years for me to find what Funktified was all about. Why we should even be in that area. What got us to that point, right? And it just was like paying attention to Brat. Paying attention to her as a person. Thinking about her style and everything, and like really formulating what that was. Yeah.
Well, you nailed it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like I said, this documentary, I think a lot of people are going to love. for either reinforcing what they already know about you or just learning all of the impact that you've had on the industry. So thank you for the music that you've created. It's a soundtrack to so many of our lives. I know definitely me included. So just know that your work is very much appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and if you guys want to check it out, The Power, Influence in Hip Hop, The Remarkable Rise of So So Def premieres on Thursday, July 18th on WeTV. Please give it up for Jermaine Dupri.
Yeah.